Well, welcome back. Another Saturday is upon us, right? Hopefully, everyone can hear me because I am the king of audio issues. Connie, as always. Pam's on here. Who else is on? See, everybody's getting this thing figured out. Everybody's commenting now, so I know who's here. Little change of pace this evening. The wife is out of town. I had half my gear upstairs. So I thought, why not do it upstairs, right? No reason to go downstairs and set it all up. Hey, Becky. Who else do we have on? Oh, I figured Paul would be here. Hello, perfect, B. I'm glad I am coming through A-OK. So I got this fancy new headset thanks to Amazon, so hopefully I sound better or I don't sound too loud. And I decided to go back to using wireless, so I am plugged in. Hopefully, fingers crossed it stays that way. So we'll give it a quick shake here in a moment. Hey, Diana, how are you? I got Diana B, Paul, Becky, Connie, Pamela, all the normals. Hey, Diane, and the, what are we going to call? We should come up with a name for all you guys that always show up. So, we'll see if Peggy hops on. Maybe Peggy's going to get on tonight. I don't know if Peggy will be on, but if not, I bet you Peggy watches it after. So, well, hey, Diane, how are you? Oh, holy moly. I look like I got drugged to the turnip patch. Okay. Well, we will get started here momentarily. We'll give it till 8:01. See what happens. Got 10 people on this evening. Thank you as always. Anybody doing anything photographically exciting this weekend? I got bored and bought like $24 worth of flowers at Hy-Vee today and took 352 photos, and I'm happy with one. So I guess that's a win-win, right? I went and made coffee too, and then I realized with this thing, I can't drink it. So it is what it is. Well, you know what? It is 8:01, so let's get rolling. Oh, it's not too cold. Well, too cold for outside, maybe. Next week will be better, hopefully. So let's get started here. So I'm going to pop on over. There we are. So I kind of shuffled the old schedule around. I had it all set up, and then I decided, hey, Tom, decided to bring this from rut to revival up. It's been on my list. I thought, it'll be super cool to talk about something about being in a creative rut, so on and so forth. And, editing photos from Vegas. Awesome. And this has come up a lot lately for some really weird reason, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the weather, but I've had several messages. One was like, I'm getting out of this photography thing. I'm done. And I'm like, why? There's too much competition. Well, there's competition in everything these days. But at the same time, I think if you find your niche, your place, your clients, all that good stuff, you can do it. It just takes time. I was listening to a podcast recently where this popped up too, in a creative rut and things like that. And the guy had made a comment. He goes, well, actually it was a marketing one. And he was like, whatever you think it's going to take, times that by 3 and you'll be good. Set your expectations. So I guess if you're running a business thing, you think you're going to have it all done next year, times that by 3 and let's call it 3 years. So, and then I've had other people jumping in and saying, you know what, I just don't feel like taking pictures. And it just was all this. So I thought, all this is a sign, man. So I got to talk about it because I've been here not 1, not 2, 3 times that I can count. So we will get started here. So from rut to revival, finding your creative spark again. So as you know, if you've got questions, throw them on up there and I will pull them up. Come on. There we are. So art is a process, not a product. I came across this today on Facebook. I was like, this is perfect. Because I think when you start taking what we do as art or just photography in general, and you start making it a product. I mean, obviously my end goal is, yes, I do sell some work, I make some money. I teach, I make some money, right? I mean, that's how things roll. It's how bills get paid. But when you start taking everything and making, in theory, a product like your phone, like, yes, I can go to the store and buy this, it's a product. Then it becomes nothing. Really, it's not art. You're just doing it for money. And at that point, I think what happens is a lot of people get into this grind of just making things with the end result of making money or whatever, or getting the emojis and the hearts and the likes and the carry huggy heart things on Facebook. And it all comes down to this, where people just get tired of it. And I think that's a lot of the problem. So we'll talk about a little bit tonight from, I'm terrified it wasn't working. So we'll get talking. These are just all points that I've come across, things I've thought of to get out of a rut in theory. So let's get rolling now. So finding your way out. Well, how are we going to do this? Well, you know what? I got 17 more slides from here. So the one thing that I think you need to do is you need to find out the why. That's probably the hardest thing in this journey of getting back on the horse, as they say, when you've fallen off. And the reason being, you don't exactly know why. When it first, I've been, 3 times in this little world of getting in a rut, out of a rut. I can't tell you how long your rut's going to last. I mean, it could be a day. It could be a couple days. It could be a week. It could be a month, 6 months, a year. Who knows? It is what it is, I guess, right? But I think when we look at any problem we have in life or work or photography, we have to figure out the root cause of something. So if you can't fix it, then it's not going to fix itself, right? I mean, if I've got a car with a flat tire, well, I can drive around on it all day, can't I? I ain't going to cause problems in the end. But if I figure out that I had a flat tire, then guess what? I can fix it. So that's probably easier said than done in this whole realm of figuring out, if you're in a rut, why you're in a rut. It's kind of like the whole weight loss journey thing. Lots of people get all, oh my God, I haven't lost weight in like a day and a half or 2 days or a week. Yeah, it's called a plateau. You know what? You can do that in photography too. And you got to find this or you got to punch through that ceiling, right? And just get there. And sometimes it's just, you have to just roll through the motions, good or bad. And you need to find that why, because I think when I found my why, the first 2 times I didn't figure out the why. I didn't. It just magically kind of fixed itself. Okay, I got lucky. The 3rd time it happened, I had to think about the why, like where did this come from? Because for me, it's not like it's not like it slowly creeps up and then it hits and then it sits here and then it's down. I mean, I can be like this, for creativity, right? I mean, you're not always going to be on this high of creating great work. But I had to come back and say why. So the first time I was kind of in this creative rut was back when I worked at PhotoPro, and it kind of sucked because people always say, well, how do you do photography and you do it for a job? Well, because you love it, right? That's what I did. I loved it. But after a while, it gets on you. And it's kind of how I started the ICM thing. I was tired of people wanting sharp photos and what's the best camera to have and what's the lens and what's the thises and the thatses, and Johnny has a Z9 and I want one, but I can't have one. Well, you don't really need one probably for what you're doing. But all that just like a whirlwind, literally, of all that all the time. And it kind of sucked the life out of me to the point where I'm like, I really don't care. I didn't pick up my camera. Did that fix it? Kinda, because I just kind of separated it from doing at home versus work. But it's still, and then I ended up leaving my job, obviously. We all know that. But that's not why. But I found a why. So I'm like, So then when it happened the second time kind of thing, or I get in these little weird ruts of not feeling creative or wanting to pick up the camera, I figure out the why. And when you figure out the why, you figure out the problem, you can go fix it, or at least try to work on it. I'm not going to say that you're going to be like, oh, figured it out, it's fixed. It's not going to work that way. So figure out the why. That was kind of a long drawn out one, but figure out the why. So try something different. And what do I mean by that? Let's say you are, I don't know, a landscape photographer. Like right now, I am not very drawn to the landscape. I don't know why. Is what it is, right? So the picture here, the Rialto, that's something different. Do I do night photography? Yes. How often do I do it? Once on a blue moon. It's just not my thing. But obviously this photo presented itself, so I took care of it and captured it. But now it's got me thinking of other things. Like maybe I should find more theaters like this to photograph, which then again, I've been in this really weird, I don't know if you saw my post, I don't know, within the last 30 something days, where it's like I felt like my brain chemistry was altered by white sands for some reason. It's probably all the nuclear material floating around down there. But it's one of those things where I was like, I've done some landscape stuff, don't get me wrong, but I'm really being drawn to these minimalistic things and more abstracty, more artsy stuff. So, and I just realized today I have not posted a photo in a while, so I need to do that. But, oh, hey, Don. So you just maybe have to find something different. So if you're a landscape photographer, go do portraits. If you're a portrait photographer, I don't know, go do landscapes. Or let's say you've never done, I don't know, macro photography before, but you have a macro lens, go do macro. Or pick something in the bag that you normally don't do on a regular basis and just go do it. Because that's going to force you to look at something and say, okay, I got to look at this differently than a portrait or a landscape or the opposite of what I normally do, right? So it kind of builds things that get you thinking. You got to think. The more you think and you get creative, and then, hey, maybe it fixes itself. Maybe it's that day fix. Maybe it's 6 weeks or 6 months kind of fix, but you're not focusing, because I think sometimes we put ourselves like too much pressure on ourselves to do what we normally do. So we just have to change it up a little bit. So get inspired. Well, right? That's the reason we're here. We're not inspired. So how do we get inspired? 1.5 million ways. To be honest, you almost have to think, and does it have to be artistically inspired? No. Maybe it's just going for a walk. Maybe it's just, looking at other photographers' work, which can be not a blessing, but it's one of those things where, for me, sometimes to get inspired, I'll go to Barnes & Nobles. They have about a minute photo section about that big these days, but I go and I find a book. Like there's a book there the last time, my daughter likes to go there. We were hanging out one Friday night, and it was Vivian Mayer. If you're familiar with her, she was, if I remember right, the nanny who took photos and died and became famous, like all artists, right? Somebody found, I think it was like over 50,000 pieces of work. Oh, hey, Chris, give me 1 second. I will finish this thought. And I'll look at books. And I'll look at, maybe now it's not so much, like every morning I have a routine. I always have a routine. I get up, do the same thing. I need to stop that some days. But now part of my routine is I get on Instagram and I just look at stuff. So that's probably why my brain's all altered, because I've been looking at a lot of black and white minimalistic. So Chris has a question. Let's pop her up here. So Chris asks, how do you break out of comfort zone and trying a new style you know nothing about? Simple. Take some words from Nike. Just do it. What do you have to lose? Nothing. We shoot pixels, not frames anymore. We're not wasting. Every time we click that shutter, it doesn't do anything, right? I mean, obviously it does. It takes a picture, but it's not a waste of anything. So just do it. I mean, it's one of those things, and like your half part is that something you know nothing about. I think that's the beauty. It is. When you don't know something, yeah, you might not know it all. You might be wrong in some aspects, but what I'll say, that's where the beauty lies, because you know nothing. You have no preconceived notions, no box to fit yourself in. You don't. You just do it. So if you're like, I don't know, like, let's put it this way, like minimalism. I'm kind of into that lately. I'm brainstorming things in my head all the time. And I'm looking at photos and I'm typing in minimalism. I have an idea of what that means, but as I scroll through Instagram and I was on a Facebook group for about that big of a moment, and then I got out of it quick, was everybody sees that word minimalism differently. I mean, some had it spot on. It was very minimalistic. It could be a tree and hardly nothing else. And then there's some people that kind of lost in the sauce and they had too much going on, but just do it. I mean, those people who are in that Facebook group, they're probably just doing it, right? They're not sitting here deciding, okay, do I need to do the research? So that's me. That's my problem. That's my ADHD brain, is I'll research the death out of something until it's either no fun or I've got to figure it out. The problem with that is then I think in the photography realm, or an art term or sense, that I have to do it this way because this is the way I've seen it done. Like ICM stuff. You can do that a million different ways, but we all know in photography you can do it one way. Chris can do it one way, Mary can do it another way, Dawn can do it another way, Connie can do it another way, but guess what? We can all come up with the same, pretty much close kind of photo, right? F8's F8. Hundredth of a second, ISO 100 is ISO 100. Those are all the same. We can all have the same settings, but how we put that into post process or whatever we choose to do with it afterwards. Connie might just say, I'm going to leave it the way it is in camera. You, Chris, might edit the crap out of it and saturate it or something. I don't know. I'm just pulling things out of my head. But, and then somebody might else go in and burn and dodge real slightly and lightly here and there. So again, then we have the same photo, but 3 different ways. So I would say just do it. Get out of your comfort zone by just doing it. So another thing about getting inspired is don't consider to get inspired photography. That it has to be photography. Go look at Monet's and all those guys and painters. It's been a long time since I've known all that stuff. So I'll just, Picasso, things like that. So who says you can't get inspired by something that's not photography, right? I mean, you could look at a Picasso and it could literally give you this brain moment of wow, I should do something like this in photography or with my camera. I mean, I'm driving down the road sometimes and I hear a lyric on a song and I'm like, woo, and I just get this brain filled with ideas. You never know. It could be music. It could be a book. I mean, I don't know why I have this on the table, but some magazine from Kirkwood. Right? I could look at there and say, ooh, something's, all inspiring. So you just have to get inspired, and you're going to know how you get inspired as well. Maybe you're not a music listener. Maybe you're kind of that person that likes to doodle and draw too. Well, doodle and draw for a while or whatever, and whatever's going to get you inspired. Or maybe it's sitting there listening to hours and hours and hours of podcasts to be inspired, or go to YouTube and type in inspirational speeches and listen to that for 5 hours. I don't know, but you know how you'll get inspired. So the key term here is inspired. So just get inspired. Come on. So the other thing is connect with other creative people. So, we all do the coffee and clicks thing. That's people getting together. That group of people can inspire me to do something. Or I know Chris and Connie have been there, and Chris always stays after and talks to me a little bit, and he might say something. It gets me inspired or kind of helps me going along. If I'm in this rut, I'm not feeling it. Just being around other creative people and listening to them, that's great. That may inspire you to go out and do something, or at least maybe pick up the camera. You got to remember, all this is just not going to be here to here. It's going to be little baby steps. You might have some great leaps and bounds at a few points, but it can be a slow process, and you just have to work with it. So finding, even if it's somebody you can't really talk to, in a sense, person to person, there's no group, hop on Zoom or hop on one of the many meetup things and go that way. Or maybe it's just even, in theory, connecting with somebody creatively on YouTube. Maybe they got a video, or type in inspirational photography things or whatever and see what happens. Because again, you're still connecting with somebody, just in a different form. We're connecting as we speak, right? I'm here talking, you guys we're all interacting, it's connection. And if you want, you can always reach out to me and say, dude, I'm in a rut. What do I do? So, just connect with other people. I think sometimes, especially with the COVID world, we're finally rolling out of that, hopefully. And I remember when that first started, I don't think I left my house for a freaking month and a half. Holy buckets. Surprised I didn't go nuts. And my wife's like, remember, you can go out and take pictures. Oh yeah, that's right. Don't let it shut you down either. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll get there in a minute. So adjust your surroundings. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you have, let's say, very negative people that you have to hang out about, or let's say you have coworkers that are butthurt all the time, that's a little hard to change. But there are things you can do to change surroundings. Maybe it's switch up your office. Maybe it's in the house, flip 2 pictures around. Because I find out when I get in my creative ruts, it's because I'm in that motions. I'm living the motions of the day. I get up at 5:30, literally by 5:40, I'm making breakfast. By 6 a.m., I'm eating it. I am getting ready for work by 6:20, 6:30. I am out the door by 7, and then I sit in my truck and work on business stuff from like 7 to 7:50. Every day at 7:50, my door pops open on the truck. I walk inside. Dawn lets me in the building. I go put my lunch away. I go to my desk. Same routine every day, almost 365 days a year. And then I sit down at my computer. First thing I do is I open up all my crap, my Teams, my email, my HubSpot, pull it all up. And there it is. And then I go on my phone for 5 minutes because that's about 7:55. And at 8 o'clock hits, I'm already working. That gets, now I wouldn't say daunting. It's very like beating down. So switch up your schedule. Maybe it's you do two things, right? You just flip around. But change up surroundings. Like my wife hates it, but I'm always like, we should switch the house around. Like, let's move the couch over here. I do not like to have the same surroundings. I just switch my office up. Like 3 times a year, I just shuffle things around. And that's what I do. Because it gives me change. And when I have change, I feel more alive, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But maybe adjust your surroundings, Maybe it's going a different way to work, because guess what? You've seen the same light, the same tree, the same stop sign every day for 4 months or 5 months or 5 years, 10 years, right? Go left instead of right one day. Takes a little longer to get to work, but man, you'll see a difference of things, and I'll start getting that little brain going and start percolating things. The other thing is, don't think about it. Literally, do not sit and stew. I'm a horrible person at that. Like, I get a thought in my head and I run it through my head a million times. But it's one of those where I think the more you think about it and hound yourself about it, then guess what? All you're thinking about is being in a creative rut, right? And guess what? You're going to stay in a creative rut because that's all you think about. You're not thinking about anything inspiring. You're not connecting with inspiring people. You're not connecting with other photographers, painters, sculptors, whatever it may be, right? You're just thinking about it all the time. So then it puts you in that same negative attitude mood where you're like, okay, well, this sucks. I can't take a picture to save my life. It sucks. I don't like it. Okay, well, then you sit and worry about it and worry about it and worry about it. And before you know it, you're not going anywhere. So a lot of people say, my new saying is, it is what it is. I say it all the time because there's not much things I can change, right? And that's something I'm working on. So number 10, don't force it. You hear people say, trying to force blood from a turnip. Yeah, don't force it. Because again, that is just as bad as thinking about it. So because when you're thinking about it, you're forcing yourself in a sense to I have to. And when I say force yourself, I'll take this 2 ways. A good way of forcing it and a not good way. For me, if I force it, depends on the mood, then I keep hovering back to that previous one. Don't think about it. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Now I'm forcing myself to do it, right? And what I have not, the last 2 weeks, I have not felt like going to the gym. I did not. It's just not it is. And I'll hear trainers and everybody on YouTube and Facebook say, you need to suck it up and just go. Well, that's probably true. I'm notorious that when I get out of a routine, it's hard to get back in. And last week, it was a week. I've been busy and I thought, I'm out of it. Done. I'm not going to force it. I did not go because I tried to force myself, giving me these little positive reinforcement in my head. It's going to be fine. It's going to be only an hour and you're going to be just fine and you're going to be happy in the end and yak. And guess what? I hated it even more. And guess what I was doing? Thinking about it. I was thinking about it all day. I want to go to the gym. And I was trying to force myself, girl, get your butt out of the chair and go to the gym. Get out of the office and go to the gym. You know what? But guess what? I haven't been feeling super creative lately. It's just a little short thing. But guess what? I just said, screw the gym. I didn't go. I went one day. I went Monday. I was fine. I said, screw Wednesday and Thursday. And then I didn't go this week either. Oh, well, right. Is what it is. But I'll get back on Monday because I have a coworker I go with and he's going to go back. So, but again, if I force myself to do it, I tend to hate it. So if I'm forcing myself to pick up the camera, then guess what? I'm going to hate the thing. So just don't force it and don't think about it. Oh, because the other thing, let me tell you is, let me take one step back. Forcing it. I have forced myself to literally just do it, and that has helped. But if I do this for a day or two and I just like, I hate it, just don't force it, okay? Because you're going to, I think, prolong yourself into this world a lot longer than you care to be. Create shit. It's okay, obviously. Sometimes you just have to go through the motions of doing something. So some of the advice I gave recently, somebody's like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't want to, I'm not in this mood to do it, but it was a certain part, like post-processing. They didn't want to do that part. That was they figured out the why. So they figured out why they didn't like it was post-process. Who says you have to give up on it entirely? Just don't post-process anything. Go out, take pictures. You love that part, right? Work up to the point where you love it, and then that point where it comes and says, I hate this part, stop. There you go. And you can just repeat that cycle, and then eventually you'll be like, I probably got to edit some photos. Maybe she gets back into editing, and then bam, it's all back. It's just one of those things. You don't have to completely stop. You can work up to that point of hate. The other thing I say about just create shit, it's okay. Sometimes just clicking the shutter and rolling through the motions of creating something will get you back, and you're like, well, that's crap. Well, that's crap. Well, that's crap. And then you got to figure out, guess what? You got to figure out the why again. It all goes back to the why. Why is it crap? Well, the composition's off. Well, why is it off? Well, I put the barn over here and it should have been over there, and it's not rule of thirds the way I wanted it. Guess what? We figured out the problem. So then we can go out next time, take some more photos, we fix it. Then once you get one, all it takes is one photo. Like today, I took 352 photos of flowers, to be exact, right here at the kitchen table. I was like, as I was scrolling through all these. And I found one. I'm like, meh. Edited it up a little bit. Yeah, I like it. Went through the rolling, right? Just went through the process. I finally found one out of 352 that I like. Then I was like, ooh, this is great. So when you start getting that one photo, all it takes that one photo, and you get all super inspired to go do it, then you're like, you might just like that pop out of it. I've been there where, I get on a good day or a good week. I go through these weird things where I'll have a stellar summer where everything I'm doing, it seems like I have more stuff than I care to, and it's hard, like, to pick a good one. And then the next year, it's like, if I know if I have a stellar year, like I knock out 10, 20 images that I truly love, because that's all that matters. Next, you're probably not going to be so hot. It's still going to be good, but it's not going to be hot. So it's okay. It's an ever flowing, it's like a roller coaster. You're never going to one day like hit the world and like be on top and just keep going. Eventually going to fall off the horse. Come on. So what are all these little symbols? The little bird, the F, the little camera, the little pointy thing, and the P. Yeah, it's social media, right? Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all that crap, right? Ditch it. Ditch it sometimes. It'll just help you out in general. Like, I come to find that anymore, I'm only on social media for a lot for my business. That's it. I mean, I post other stuff too, but on my personal page. But sometimes this might be part of the why that you figure out. That your why is you get imposter syndrome. You start worrying about other people in the sense of art. Like, I catch myself all the time. I look like, ooh, I'm never going to be like that. No, you can't say that. I will never be like that if I don't put the work into being like that. Or if I get into the imposter syndrome where I'm just going to sit here all day and woe is me, and I suck at photography and this. Yeah, okay. You figured out the why. You think you suck. That's fine. How do you unsuck? Figure it out, right? And then just roll through the motions, because this is not going to be a like like I said, you're up in the clouds forever. With photography. I mean, think like Ansel Adams, he's probably had a bad day or two, so you get in a creative rut and just figure out that why. More than likely it could be social media, especially if you're just on there. Like 2 years ago, I said, screw it. I'm done following photographers and other photographers. It's like, ugh, just because it's a pissing match all the time and I'm tired of it. So, I mean, I follow people. I actually followed my first photographer in a long time. He does stuff with Lens Baby lenses. Super cool. Made me want to, inspired me to go want to buy a Lens Baby, and I don't need it because I'm just going to figure out how to edit those photos and cheat it, and make it look like what it is. So I'm not going to spend $400 on a lens I'll use once a year, kind of like a macro. So again, just go back to thinking about things. That part of the ditching the social media thing may be part of the why. Not always, but it's something to think about. So stop comparing yourself. I just kind of touched on this, right? So I think some people are naturally going to be more talented than others, right? Like, can I play football? I sure can. Do I suck at it? Oh, I bet you I do. I don't have a natural talent for that. I say I have more of a natural talent for artistic and art and things like that. That's my realm. My daughter is very naturally artistic just from seeing the stuff she does. She isn't a sports girl. We played soccer. Well, it might change, but if I'm going to try to compare myself, like let's say I am decent or good at whatever I'm good at, right? Or naturally good at, we're not all going to be like, oh God, I don't know sports people's names. See, I don't know anything. Let's say the big fancy football player, right? It plays for the NFL. You may be good at football, but are you ever going to be as good as him? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? You can work your tail off and try to get there, right? I'd rather at the end of the day say, you know what, I tried than just sit here and ponder it all day. But if you go to, say, a photography seminar, and you see beautiful work all over, just don't go pondering and poor me, and go sit in the corner. Look at the work and say, why did it inspire me? Like, what drew my eye? Like, I've said it before. I sit here and do this on Instagram, Facebook. I don't scroll slowly and all of a sudden, if something makes me stop, that's pretty good for me, and I'll comment like, hey, this photo made me stop or something or whatever, especially if it's somebody I don't know, because we all need good creative feedback. We got some stuff popped up here. I probably missed a few things. Let me roll. I got on a tangent. So Tom says, I found donating prints to nonprofit organizations for their silent auction can be inspiring. Ask the organizer what would sell for their attendees. My latest print brought $850 for a great cause. That made me feel great, and I could use my images to help other. And then Diane said, yes, Tom, I've donated in years past. Yes, right? Again, you're helping other people. You're doing something, you're taking something you love and moving it on to other people. That's awesome. I love to hear stories like that. So again, you can't compare yourself. Like, I hate it when, and I've said it on here before, people say, oh, I wish I could be like you. Oh God, no. We don't need another me. Literally, the world does not need another Justin. Be your own self, right? When we talked about finding your style, find your own style. Don't be like somebody else. You can be influenced by somebody, like I would love my black and whites to look like Chuck Kimmerly's. I've watched him edit live, and it was super cool. And I wish I could regurgitate about 1% of that information, as I don't want to copy him. I was drawn to him because we're kind of drawn to the same subjects of the world, and I could see how he edited it. And what I liked about how he does his post-processing was he has a lot of contrast, dark background, bright subject, or vice versa. So for me, I'm not going to go out and say, okay, I'm going to find, he has a really cool photo of like a dead horse of bones, like in a barn somewhere. I think that's what it is. I could be crossing my wires, but it's kind of weird. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I'm not going to go look for a dead animal in a barn, right? No, I'm just going to feel like maybe I find bones somewhere and figure it out like that, right? So it's one of those things. So just don't compare yourself, because I think when you compare yourself, let's say you find that person on social media, they're strike one, then you start comparing yourself to them. Strike two, you start getting the imposter syndrome, then strike three, and then you're in this rut and you got to figure your way out. So just don't compare yourself to people. We're all different. If the entire world all had the same photographers, we'd be boring as hell. So walk away and come back later. Well, what does that mean? Walk away. Just take a sidestep, and this is more of that in the moment creative rut. I've had recently the picture that I think I posted last week, or it was in the last week, where I was talking. It was the one at Glacier with the trees and the trail. I didn't like it. I loved it. You know how many times I left that picture, came back to it, walked away, and finally one day, just like that, it clicked, and I just on a roll knocked it out. Sometimes it's that one-time thing, like today. I was downstairs looking at 352 pictures of flowers, abstract flower photos, blurry photos on purpose of flowers, things like that. And I was getting down. I was like, ugh. And you know what? I came up here, grabbed a cup of coffee. I washed some dishes. I went back downstairs, kind of went through them again, and bam, guess what I did? I found that one photo that I love. So guess what? Did it take me a little bit of tweaking post-process between a couple softwares back and forth? It sure did. But that's what I love about the process. I'm creating art. So again, if you're in that creative rut, a short-term one, or even a long-term, you can just take 2 steps back. Maybe take a step back walk away from that whole landscape thing and pick up something different like portrait. And then if you get tired of portrait, go to Mac or whatever it may be. Or do ICM. Do something you've never done before. And then the last one I believe here is just take a break. You can stop. There's nothing wrong with that. Just get up and walk away and don't come back for a while. And eventually it will work its way out of your system. I've had to do that before where, boy, this would have been, when was that? Long time ago, really. Because I had a Nikon D300. So it would have been after my deployment to Iraq because I bought all my gear from Dave Johnson while I was overseas and he held it for me. So it would have been probably like 2008. I didn't pick up a camera, I bet you, for almost an entire year. And guess what I was going to school for? Photography. Well, mass communication and media, but I didn't have a photo class that year. Oh, well. So sometimes you just need that time to get away. I've always thought about doing it where I'd love to do it. I don't know if anybody would ever be interested, but I always wanted to do these retreats that people go on, like meditation retreats. I don't want to go meditate. I want to go with other creatives, like a very small group of like 3 or 4, where you rent a house or a cabin somewhere and we just talk about our craft and this is my plans for the year and this is what I want to do. It's still on my list, maybe someday. Again, that can help you get out of a rut too. We ain't picking up cameras. We're not at all, but guess what we're doing? We're creating and setting goals and doing things. So again, you can also take that break, step away, just be done for a while. Just make sure you come back. So that is the end. That was kind of a quick, only 36 minutes this evening. Any questions before we get into what's coming up? No? Oh, I forgot to mention, this will be brief. You'll see, if some people weren't on last week, I'll probably mention it every week. There are things that my show inquires of bills and things. So if you want to support the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Scan the little QR code up there. You can donate $1, $1 million, $12 billion. I don't care. That's enough of that. So I hate doing that. Any questions so far? Comments, concerns? No? We got some fun stuff coming up here. So next week, it's finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. So we are going to I'm just going to give you some tips on how to take something that's ordinary, like, I don't know, a rock, and let's make it exciting. The following week, we're going to be doing composition. I don't know if I'm super excited about that one, but it's never a bad thing to touch. And then we're going to talk about finding your photographic voice on April 4th. That's going to be kind of like finding your style, kind of figuring out what you need to do. Then we are going to do April 15th is where I will need your help. Number 1 is the Inquisitive Hour. It's going to be a live Q&A. That's all we're doing. If I have to sit here and stare right into that camera lens and no one asks a question, I guess that's what we're doing for an hour. This is how I like to go back to my roots sometime. That's how this whole flipping thing started. Literally, this dumb thing right here in a hotel room is how all this started. Isn't that crazy? And I enjoy doing it. So I wanted to go back and let people answer questions. And I will always say, there is no dumb question. We all start in different levels. Ooh, Megan. Hey, Megan. Says, I'm going on a photography retreat in Oregon in October. There still might be room. I don't know what I'm doing in October. send me this. You know where to find me. Send me details. I don't know if I'll go, but I probably need to get out to Paul's Photo out west, and I keep saying I'm going to get out the store. I should probably do that this year. But no, let me know. I'm always looking for it. Too many Christmases. And then I'm really excited for this one, The Art of Time, Mastering Long Exposure Photography. That's what I love to do too, but I don't do enough of it. So I got some ideas this summer once we get the nice billowy clouds rolling. So we'll talk about that. This is where I will need your help yet again on April 29th. The image review. So we're going to do live critiques for photographers. So you can start doing it now if you want. I have no problem. Don't send me like a really low res file, but send me nothing huge, something a little different, or a little different, too many Christmases, like in between, not super huge, not super tiny, and like up to 3 that you want critiqued. And I'm trying to find somebody else maybe to do it with me, just because no one wants to listen to just my opinion. We should have multiple opinions when it comes to photo critiques, but it's going to be lively. It's not going to be like ripping you apart or anything. It's going to be what's good, what needs work. I don't think there's anything bad about somebody's photo. It's just what you need to work on. And then this one will be interesting. The Maverick method, exploring unconventional camera gear. So I don't know what I'm quite doing for that. I have some ideas. Obviously, it is what it says, but I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to put in it. Oh, Diane says, I have wanted to have a creative work/retreat for women, as we don't take time for ourselves. No, we do not. And at a location for a week and have fun area. Yes, that is always an idea. I like that. Then, this is the one I'm super, super, super excited for. And this is Framing Life, a personal perspective on photography. And you're not going to have to listen to me drone on for an entire hour. So I have reached out to 4 people. This is one of my brainstorming sessions. It's kind of funny. I posted that I ungodly got, diagnosed with ADHD, which probably that makes sense to a lot of people now, in the middle of summer at the VA. And there's a guy I follow on TikTok. And he had this thing. It's like my brainstorming session with his last one here was people. He says, well, think of it like people think inside a box, and they like have a brainstorming session and it disappears. Think of it where you take that box and replace it with a beehive. My brains, he says, is the bees on the outside of the beehives. Yep, that is exactly me. I am always thinking of something. So this was like an aha moment. I was typing things through and I'm like, ooh, this is kind of cool. And I wrote it down. But so Framing Life, a personal perspective on photography. So I reached out to 4 people this week. I reached out to 2 professional photographers, 1 person who does it for fun and a hobby, and 1 of my students from the past. And I got 3 yeses and a 99% sure. So Trent Foltz, if you know Trent, he couldn't make it on the fine art one, but he's going to come in and do it. I have Kent, gee, many Christmases, Mr. Sievers out of Omaha. Used to be, I don't think he works for the Omaha World Herald anymore. Great at street photography. He's a novelist. He's written 2 books. I don't know if he's retired yet, but super cool stuff. He's got a lot of funny stuff, over 1,000 posts on Instagram. He's a great guy. I met him for the very first time when I job shadowed at the Omaha World Herald back in 2003 or 4, so it's been a while ago. So he's going to jump on. He's super excited. And then I won't name the other one because she's not 100% sure yet till we meet. But the last one I have is Daniel Perry. You probably never heard of Daniel. Daniel was one of my students from Paul's Photo. That man rocks color, things being different. He's just got a different outlook on photography, and it's very artistic-y kind of way. So I think you'll enjoy everybody. I try to get like a wide variety of people. Like Mr. Sievers, he does street photography mostly and photojournalistic work. You've got Trent, who does the landscapes, and then you've got Daniel, who does just about everything. So I think that should be super cool. But it's just not, they're going to pick 4 of their favorite photos and just talk about them real quick. They all have a 15-minute block. And within that 15 minutes, they're going to answer questions like, how do you get out of a creative rut? Or just 2 questions, like one is what photography is to them, why they started it. I just think it'd be good to get 4 of their perspectives. So I'll stop droning on about that one, as you can tell about my excitement. So I think. Oh, as always, thank you. So again, another Saturday night is upon us and completed. It just seems like every week it just sneaks right up on me. But again, I thank you guys. We had a good number tonight, between 15 and 20, so on average. So again, thank you guys for showing up. I always enjoy it. Hopefully you find some value out of these. I assume you do, because you still show up. Oh, you're welcome, Diane. Like I said, as long as people show up, I'll do it. If you do find value and stuff out of this, share it. Let other people know about it. I'm trying to build a little wider audience. Not that I don't enjoy the 15 to 20 that are always on here normally, but it's always good to get out there. My goal is to inspire people to create and share images, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the new intro. That was another one of my wild ideas that I was in the middle of a project and was tired and not creatively in the middle of doing it anymore. So guess what I did? I took a break and walked away and came up with that. So you are welcome, Tom. Thank you. Oh, hey, Ian's on here. Boy, there's always, I wish I could see who's on here. Oh, one thing I need to talk about before everybody splits away, before I forget too, classes. I was going to do a video this weekend of like, I've got so much stuff lined up. I thought about maybe just doing a special live to talk about it. I don't know. But I've got a whole bunch of website updates I want to talk about. I'm hoping, what do I want to say? I'm hoping to have like classes like launched April 1st. Let's just talk about it real quick. So I got 3 types of classes. I've got them broken down. All this will be on my website. It's kind of there now, but it's kind of a discombobulated mess. But my classes are going to be affordable. Imagine that, because I hate it when people can't do what they want to do. So the first series of classes is called a snapshot series. The snapshot series is going to be a 1-hour class. I can only take up to 8 with the software I'm going to buy, so it's going to be very limited. I'm sorry. They may go fast. I don't know. I hope they go fast. But the first part will be a snapshot series. Oh, and all these classes are going to be online. So I don't care where you're at. Send it to your friend in Oregon. You know, you're in Des Moines. Hop on, right? So the snapshot series is a quick 1-hour course, very high level. Like the first one I'm thinking of is like masking for Lightroom. Quick, down and dirty of how to mask, what masking is, what it does. $20. That's my goal. $20 1 hour, right? And then a half hour for questions. You can't beat that. Then I'm going to move up to the middle. It's called the Focus series. So the Focus series is going to be your standard 2-hour class. We're going to go more in depth, yada, 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 like $45. Then we are going to do what we call the Expedition series. That is going to be a hybrid class. It's going to be half online, half in the field. So I'll have a lot of that. So they're more of a workshop. They're going to be about 75. I'd like to go a little higher, but I'm not sure, but we'll see. But I just want people to make sure that they got classes. So if you have class ideas, shoot them to me in an email. But I'm going to introduce a thing called the Photographer's Lounge. We'll talk about that at another time. Oh, there's lots of things going on. So I updated the website to where I'm going to have on-the-go guides. So I know Chris downloaded one. That was they're free. Those will be free. They're like a quick cheat sheet. If you remember the ones we had at PhotoPro on exposure, things like that, you could just throw in your bag. It's like a quick 5-pointer on how to do night photography. Those I'll work on throughout the year slowly but surely. So again, I will let everybody go. That was just a quick down and dirty, but I probably should sit down and do a video sometime of just more in-depth. But again, thank you guys so much as always for joining me. And like I said, if you have fun, please share it. If you haven't gone out and subscribed to the YouTube channel, this is not, I guess I did go live on YouTube tonight. I didn't mean to. They keep pinging my stuff for crap. So awesome. So while I will jump off here, it's 9 o'clock. We'll call it an even 9 o'clock. I'm going to go fiddle around in the office some more, and I got to pick up this stuff before the wife comes home. So again, thank you as always, and have a good weekend, and we will see you next week right here at 8.